As you prepare both of your lyrical and technical etudes, make sure that you start with what is most difficult for you, go slowly, and use a tuner and metronome regularly during your practice. Go ahead and start recording yourself early on, playing just a measure or two at a time to make sure that you aren't practicing mistakes, because that can take a lot more time to undo later. As you get better with both of these, perform them regularly for friends and family so you can experience getting nervous and performing these under pressure. For the concert band lyrical etude, there are a lot of challenges in this. It's not the easiest of etudes that they could have chosen. So, be patient with yourself. I wouldn't worry about playing this at quarter note equals 80. It's always better to play something slower and more accurately than fast and sloppy. In this etude, there are a lot of G flats that either come after or before another note that requires the B flat thumb key. So for instance, in measure 4, you have one right between a B flat and an E flat. Instead of leaping the thumb over the E key, I suggest using the little finger G flat or the pinky G flat fingering, which I labeled here as a 4, anytime that you have this, so that you avoid leaping the thumb. This does mean that in a few examples, such as in measure 7, you'll end up sliding the pinky from the A flat to the G flat, but that's usually an easier shift than jumping over an entire key. For measure 8, these lovely 30-second notes, going from E flat to F, play E flat as normal, so 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and then just lift the third finger of the right hand. That's a trill fingering. It's going to help you get through this a lot faster than having to switch to a full F fingering. And then towards the end of a beat 2 on that E flat, I recommend using a short E flat fingering. So I've listed that down here. You can really just use the whisper key and then first finger and third finger on the left hand. It doesn't have the world's greatest tone, but it's easier technically, and it's going to help you get through this really fast passage. I also use that in bar 12 on beat 3, just because there's a little bit of awkwardness getting from the G flat to the E flat again. So rather than trying to, slide my pinky in that bar, bar 12, beat 3, I will use the thumb fingering for G flat, and then just a shorter version of the E flat. In this etude, I recommend practicing it so that you do a lot of what I refer to as tonguing the tie. So in the first bar that you would play the downbeat, and then you would articulate another D flat on beat 2. And then in bar 2, you would play that D flat, and then on the first note of beat 3, you would tongue that D flat. So basically, you're just articulating the second note of the tie, and this is going to help you to internalize that pulse and feel where that is. In bar 4 and in bar 8, with this sextuplet and the 30-second notes, go very, very slowly with a metronome on 8th notes. So, start da 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 dee da da da, and da 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 da, so that you're not pushing yourself too fast, and as you speed this up, you can still hear the melodic content of this gesture. Be careful with your high G flats, so in bar 6 and in bar 11, just making sure that they're not too sharp. And really just work on this in sections. I would break up the bars that have triplets in it and practice those together, and then practice some of the bars that have 16th notes together, just so you're creating good correlation in your mind. I like to do a little retard at the end so it sounds a little bit more musical. concert band technical etude, this is another example of where I think the written tempo is a little too fast to be manageable and sound musical. So again, start wherever you can play and make sure that your goal tempo is one in which you can be successful 99% of the time. Because we have a lot of G flats and B flats and E flats in this one as well, I also use pinky F sharp or pinky G flat here. So in bar 10, there are a number of other, of places in here that you can utilize that fingering. Measure 7, I think, looks a little overwhelming when you first look at it, but if you look at the note collection in that bar, it's just in the key of F major, and in the next bar as well. So it's modulated to F major here. So if you take a look at those 2 bars and read them as though you are in F major, that might help you rather than trying to read every single, natural and flat within this. So maybe look at it from that perspective. It may help. I think that with the articulation in this, not trying to be too short with the staccato, but da 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 da. So especially on the downbeats, having a little bit more length on those just to create a little bit of stability. I would practice this with the metronome on triplets, so you have the triplet subdivision going on, and be very careful not to compress your 16th notes.